isn't easy. Worth the fight. Let's put in the work. Good night. It isn't flawless. It's still worth the gaze. Get to work before we say good night.
Welcome back to our podcast, Going to Bed Angry with the Pow Pows.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tiana.
And we're the Pow Pows.
So today's episode, we are going to talk about
Sex.
You want to say it even lower? We're going to do ASMR.
We're going to talk about sex, guys.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Hey.
You're going to get my sexy voice today because I'm tired.
Man, it's been a long week.
It's been a long year. It's been a long year already, and man, I feel like as soon as we decided to make this podcast, all the prep work in the beginning and whatnot, just preparing for it was fine, but as soon as it got time to film, it was like, no.
Yeah, I feel like just the stage that we're at in our life is just a lot to do anything when you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think obviously they're one of our main priorities, but it's a lot of basically time management, having to keep each other accountable and trying to check off our to-do list, etc. But it really isn't as easy as it may look from the outside looking in. It's pretty hard trying to stay productive in areas that we're really wanting to thrive in. But we're glad we're here.
But if you watched the first episode, you would have seen a stark difference from our appearance, because I feel like last week we were able to get all cute and whatnot, even though last week was hard, or the first episode was hard to film. But today I feel like at least I look like what I've been through.
I mean, I'm not going to be dressing up for y'all. I'm going to be in my comfortable clothes.
I feel like reality set in real quick.
And
I'm not getting
dressed. She was trying to do her makeup. I said,
not no more. I'm over
That's
it.
the first one and done.
I'm over it, for real. You're probably not going to see me in makeup ever again. We are here to talk about sex. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes to make sure we don't forget anything. Sex can be a powerful tool for reconciliation and intimacy, but it can also be misused to sidestep a deeper issue. I feel like when a lot of couples talk about sex, especially like married couples, especially married Christian couples, I feel like everyone wants to be like either super like not trendy. Everyone wants to be cool, like the cool Christians who have sex, if that makes sense. Because there's either like the super creepy religious Christians that don't talk about sex at all, or there's the super creepy Christians that talk about sex all the time. And I don't think we're either of those. We want to talk about like, I don't know. Maybe I feel like I sound like a I'm different kind of person, and I don't want to do that.
I think.
But I want to talk about like the real issues with sex.
We're gonna be, sharing our experience and basically our ups and downs and what we think works, what doesn't work, and all we can do is be transparent. I mean, I know the saying is kind of corny, where modest is hottest. We're not sharing no explicit details, but we want to make sure that we're giving you guys some truths and what we've had to overcome and what we're still trying to work on to make sure that we're having a healthy, not just life, but a sex life that's a part of our regular life.
Yeah, so the take that we really wanted to talk about today with sex is how it can be used, like I said, as a tool, or it can be used pretty much as like a rug, like a tool or a distraction. And early on in our marriage, we had two different views of sex and how to use it. And for me, it was for sure like a rug. Like I would try to bury everything under it. At least sex for me prior to getting married was always like a coping mechanism, I would say. I don't think I have ever had a healthy connection with sex. Even today, I feel like I'm like probably my healthiest, but it's still not the healthiest. But prior to you, like sex was like a tool, especially because my body was popping. So, like, sex was definitely, like, a weapon, should I say. Sex was always a weapon. That's what sex was for me.
Nice. Well, I guess I could say, man, when I was Growing up, I think it's different. I mean, I'm not a woman, so I don't know how the first experience or the thought of even having sex, or obviously there's a lot that goes into it when it comes to what you're exposed to, etc. But for me, definitely growing up, having seen my uncles have pornography videos, or going into Blockbuster and seeing, you see all these regular movies and you have a curtain where it's like
And
all
you
the
peek back
porn,
there.
yeah. And then for me growing up, I've always loved watching romance movies because, I grew up with my grandparents. So not having my mom and dad, like later in life as an adult looking back, like seeing, to fill that void, I used to always watch love stories, and then always seeing sex scenes in there, and then getting exposed to pornography, watching that. But it's like I was scared. My first time ever getting close to having sex was my prom date in 2008.
What's
I
her
was.
name?
I'm not gonna put on it.
I'm just
She's
kidding. Yeah,
technically
I was
family
just
now.
what?
Yeah.
Like she married somebody?
No, not blood, but like, remember I told you, like, I didn't know she was a part of Tribe of Judah
Oh yeah,
until.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's
Okay,
enough.
yeah.
That's
So,
enough.
but basically, the reason why, I mean, not just the only reason why, but I mean, I've always just been a good kid, tried to be a good kid growing up, and try to do the right thing, trying to stay safe. I was trying to stay celibate before I got married. But I remember before that night, Pastor Kilpatrick, a part of Tribe of Judah Ministries, he was preaching to us. I think he knew like it was getting ready around that time to go to prom. And he was like, all right, no ringing, no dinging. He was like, but babe, I'm telling you, like, in the middle of it about to happen, all I could hear was that pastor telling me, no ringing, no dinging. And like she was like telling me like, come on. And I'm
You
like,
should have like mushed her in the face. Get away from me, Satan.
and basically, I mean, I didn't have sex that night. I almost did, but didn't. But then after that, I think I was 18, I think, when I lost my virginity. And yeah, so I mean, and I only had one serious girlfriend, and after that, when I lost my virginity, it was like a wrap. Like it opened up a world of just
Mm-hmm.
experiencing a lot of, sexual activity. But yeah,
My experience was a lot different than yours.
that's why I said everyone's story could be different.
Yeah, because I was exposed. I mean, we probably were both exposed to like pornography at a young age.
Mhm.
I was definitely like I remember being in kindergarten and my uncle had we lived with my aunt and uncle. My whole family did, and my auntie had 11 kids, so it was a lot of people in one house. She had like a 4 or 5 bedroom house or something in San Bernardino, and we were staying with her. And my uncle had an RV that was parked in the driveway for some reason. Me and my cousin would sneak in, and one day we found his porn collection.
Mhm.
So I think that was his place he would duck off or whatever, and. But I remember that being the first time I like saw like magazines or whatever.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was like 5. I had to be like 5 or 6. But I was just exposed at a younger age, like not even to get into too many details, but just like things against my will, all types of stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that opened my eyes to being more promiscuous or
Yeah.
like I said, at a young age. And so by the time that I felt like I was ready to have sex, I was still in middle school. Like I was a child.
Yeah.
And so it was just a different experience. And then like I said, I was joking, but I was so serious at the same time. Like I pretty much learned to use it as a weapon. So I know there's other people who've experienced sexual assault or abuse or things like that, and everybody responds or reacts differently to it.
Mhm.
But I guess my way of not feeling like a victim was to feel like it empowered me, I guess.
Mhm.
And so it was always a tool or a weapon, which in getting married to you, it exposed a lot to me. And our first year of marriage, when we would fight and I would do what I knew to do,
Mhm.
but you didn't react the way that most men did,
Mhm.
that's what let me know, like, oh, you're jacked up. Like, you're dysfunctional. Like,
Yeah.
something's wrong.
I'm like, what you mean?
No, because I remember we got in a fight, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm about to just put it on him. We'll be fine.
Thank you.
You're like, you'll
I
take that
appreciate
down.
it,
But he was like, oh, yeah, no, don't touch me. And I was like, wait, what do you mean?
yeah.
He's like, we're not on good terms. We're not finna do. And I'm clutching my own pearls. Like, what do you mean? Men don't say no.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our first year for sure. We went through a lot where, I mean, not just sex, but it's like for me personally in that stage, I mean, even now, I always say when we're not okay, it's hard for me to move forward. You know, obviously I still gotta, operate in life, but it's difficult for me to want to move on to the next thing if we're not okay. When we're not okay, I feel like, obviously I'm not okay. And I don't like that feeling of trying to just surpass those feelings or putting that underneath the rug and trying to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and like I said, I never experienced anything like that before because of my experiences with being taken advantage of. I didn't realize that I cut off my, like, I would disassociate. Sex was a band-aid for me, like,
Yeah.
and you refused to put it on. You refused the band-aid. And it made me look at myself and my habits and my coping mechanisms, and it made me adjust to where I think now I can say today I'm not disassociated 100%. I feel like there is some disassociation still. Like I but I think a lot of that has to do with my trauma, and I don't know how to navigate that 100% unless I like go back to therapy or something, and that's probably something I should do because I've, like I said, I feel like something was stolen from me. So to where like I can't be fully present 100%.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like obviously if you haven't really dealt with all the things you've been exposed to in your past when it comes to sex, pornography, things that happened to you, whether it was against your will or whether you allowed it or you're, trying to dibble dabble into things that obviously if you've never really dealt with that, then there may be some things that we had to work through. For even for myself, like you know, obviously when we got married, I mean, I view sex as one something that is intimate, and obviously it's something that I felt that was a necessity in our marriage and still is. So it's like it's hard for me to. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's like if we're not having sex when we agree to it or when we schedule it or not as often as I feel like we should be, then it affects me in a way. It's almost like gas, like, in the sense of like it's fuel. Like, so the more we have
I
sex,
was
the
thinking
more I
flatulence.
feel like, no, or what were you saying?
I was thinking flatulence when you say gas. I was like farting.
No, no, or you could have been like fire, like which,
Yeah, I get it.
but basically no, it's like you know, obviously I feel like when you have sex, it releases what they call like
Endorphins.
endorphins, and naturally it makes you feel better, but then also spiritually connecting in that way as well, and I feel like if we don't prioritize it and if we're not doing it consistently, basically, if we're not being consistent with that and prioritizing that, I feel like it affects me. And because what happens is that you may not see it, but I see it because I feel it. And it's like, I know that I'm still doing A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. But then there's no S in the alphabet, which is for sex. It's hard for me to fully function if I feel like my gas tank is low or empty. So it's like because what happens is that I know that I'm still working at our job, still helping taking care of our kids, still doing like serving around the house, helping you, etc. And then it's like if I don't feel like I'm getting served or helped in that way with sex, then it affects me in a way where I don't feel like I'm fully functioning at my highest potential.
I just want to clarify because I know people are going to watch this and there are a lot of people who might be like triggered by what you're saying because of their own experience. He's expressing this and how he feels, but that doesn't mean that he changes how he acts. I mean, we've had this talk before and it's something that we work through, but I just want for anyone who's watching and may feel triggered by you know.
Yeah, because you also
I don't
have
want
to
you to hear what
understand.
he's not saying.
Yeah, because you have to also understand, like, obviously, there's times where my wife is really exhausted, or, the kids are not feeling well, I'm not feeling well, she's not feeling well. So there may be times I may want to have sex, and we just can't. And, life happens that way where it's like, it sucks, but that's why we created a schedule and we try our best to stick to the schedule, because if we don't, then it doesn't happen, because life is really busy when you have kids. So trying to make sure that you're prioritizing your wife and your husband first should be the main priority. At least that's what we agree upon. But sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So yes, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm just telling you my point of view. Sometimes how I feel and how I feel I can do better if we stay consistent with our commitment to our sex schedule.
Yeah. And on my end, after having 3 kids and then like just the work it takes to parent, like without traumatizing your children, because I feel like anyone can just, I mean, having 3 kids is one thing, but actually being present is really hard, I feel like. And to where it doesn't, like, sex doesn't feel like I don't naturally want to prioritize it, obviously. To me to me it almost is like exercise. Like, you don't want to do it, but when you do it, it's good. Like, and you may feel good and all that stuff, but it's like getting up the muster to do it.
Yeah, because honestly, I mean, if I'm being honest, I've never noticed how much sex took a lot of effort or to do until I was married, because I never was in, I mean, I was in that one serious relationship, but I've never seen like the importance of like the hygiene part of it, like how much time it takes, for a woman to have to, take care of themselves. And then even for the men, or like, it's just, I never knew that it took them, just on a consistent basis to stay healthy, like, that part of it. Because, when I wasn't married, it was just, you do it and you're done, and and then you leave, or, so even that takes time.
Yeah, sex is just it gets to the point where it can feel like a chore.
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to treat it like that ever, because I do know the importance of it, like keeping us bonded. It's just hard. I feel like this is just this season.
Yeah.
It's just this season.
I also feel like that yes, sex can feel like a chore, and I know that there's even been times, trust me, it's not just all her, but also me too. There's been, I think, at least twice that I know for sure that, like, when my wife was like, "Hey, you down?" and I'm like, "Bruh, I'm tired." Like, whether it was we already had and then she wanted it again, or the time when like she was ready and I was playing my game, or I was just enjoying doing something that I was already doing and didn't really want to stop at the moment. But yeah, I feel like I never realized how important scheduling sex was until you actually get married, because
I've heard it.
yeah,
I've heard people
but
say
was
that,
like,
and
that
I was
sounds
like, that's so
ridiculous,
weird. Yeah.
But now that we're
But
in it,
it's
it's like,
it's literally in our calendar. Like,
yeah.
it popped up today, and I said, "Oh yeah."
You know what that means. So, but basically, no, because even in our marriage counseling, like, they talk to us about that as well. Because they ask you, like, well, how many times what's ideal for you for
Do you
throughout the
remember what
week?
we said?
I don't remember, but I feel
Probably
like I
said
always
like,
play safe and say 3.
yeah, I think that's what we probably said too.
Which is what we agreed upon, like, as of now, just because of our, busy schedule with parenting.
It
Work,
don't know. I feel like we haven't. Has there been one week where we?
Yeah, I feel like when we first started it, like, we were consistent for like the first 2 weeks, and then after that, it just was like,
It's hard. Life be happening. So I had asked my close friends if they had any questions so that we can have one for today. And I got one that wants to be anonymous. But the question is,
you want to tell me after though who said it?
Sure.
I mean, anonymous to you
Anonymous
guys,
to
but I'm
yo,
guessing,
yeah.
so you gonna tell
Okay,
me
so it
when I say
says,
listen.
my spouse and I always end up being intimate after an argument, but we never actually resolve the issue. How do we change that?
Toxic.
Toxic.
That's
Bro.
very toxic, and that's a part of. I feel like just it's so dysfunctional. It's not healthy. Like people may think it's healthy, and they be like they get a kick out of it in the moment.
I think
But it
that's because
really,
of society and like
yeah,
TV and stuff like
yeah,
that.
like TV and society tells you like, oh, if she's mad at you, just lay it down and she'll forgive you. But in all actuality, like, yeah, physically she might be okay and you might be okay because obviously you release endorphins and you feel better naturally, but emotionally, spiritually,
She's gonna start feeling
yeah,
used,
she feels used
manipulated.
and you feel like you did something to correct the mistake, but you didn't. So it's like, yeah, that's not. So what was the question? Like,
Like, what do you do? Like, how do you resolve that? We've talked about this before, but basically, like, whenever we have an argument and it's not something that's resolved, we talked about like setting a time, basically, or a time frame to resolve it. I would basically recommend either talking about it the next day, like not letting it be left to or be swept under the rug, or having weekly check-ins. Like if you have a weekly check-in, that's something we started this year. So like on Sundays after church, we try to have like a family meeting basically with just me and him, not the kids. But if you do like a weekly check-in, then you can address certain things that weren't properly addressed. And I feel like it'd be better because like you can prepare yourself mentally for it.
yeah.
Because you know like okay, every Sunday we have this meeting, so I can bring it up then.
Hey, babe. Sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but like that sounds great. But how do we? Because like I feel like this is why it's great to have different perspective from a wife and a husband, and because obviously we think differently. And I feel like yes, that sounds great for the long run, but like how do you handle that situation in that moment? Like,
Well, I mean, we could just handle it how you handled it, which was you did not have sex with me.
yeah, but I mean like practically, like how can they? So what I'm trying to say is that like obviously if you guys are arguing or having a disagreement and instead of having sex like you guys can like there's different options. It's either one, you can basically keep the peace and whatever that looks like, whether you guys don't talk to each other in that moment, but then it's like one spouse may want to talk now and the other spouse may want to talk later, or you guys just don't want to talk at all. But the thing is, as a married couple, that if there's one person that doesn't want to talk and there is one person that does want to talk, the person that doesn't want to talk in that moment because of the argument has to give a time, like, and it has to be before you go to bed. It can't be the next day, because what happens is then those feelings and emotions start to fester and start building, and then you start thinking about other things that that person made you mad about. So it's like, so basically, so for example, if we got into an argument and I want to talk but she doesn't, then I would ask her, well, when do you want to talk? When can we talk? In 10 minutes? In 5 minutes? In 2 hours? Before we go to bed? Like,
No, let me clarify. He would say it just like that, but being real petty. Like, in 1 minute, in 2 minutes, in
nah,
3 minutes. Like,
she being extra.
sir, get out of my head. Get out of my face.
Yeah, because she like to do this thing where she just shut down or act like she don't want to talk. I said, that's fine. You don't got to talk now, but you're going to have to talk soon.
Yeah, because I really didn't want to talk.
Well,
But
you know what used to piss me off though? Baby, I used to hate when she used to try to say everything she want to say and then don't want to talk. And I'm like, and then I'd be like, well, you finna let me talk. And then she'd be like, no, I don't want to talk. So then I'm like, oh, so that's the game you
just
want to play?
manipulative, okay?
They used to irk my nerves.
I knew it did. After a while, I knew it triggered you, and I was like, bet I'm about to piss him off real quick.
Tell me everything you want.
Oh, another thing you guys could do, you could also just make a plan, like make a rule. Like if we ever get in an argument and end up having sex after, then we have to talk like immediately after while you're cuddling in bed. Like,
yeah, that's good.
You have to talk about it.
Yeah, so if you're gonna still do what you've been doing, which is argue and have sex, well then at least after you have sex, when you're sober minded now and you guys are happy with each other, then yeah, you should talk about the issue while your emotions aren't so high when it comes to being upset with one another.
And make sure you're like holding hands and like cuddling and being all cutesy.
If you've been in a relationship or if you're aspiring to be married or if you're engaged, I feel like a lot of people will tell you, whether it's your pastor, marriage counselor, close friends, people that have been married, still married, they'll tell you that one of the key things in marriage is communication, which is definitely something that I agree with. And with that, I want to say that you guys should definitely be open and honest with communicating how you feel about your sex life, whether you feel like it's good or if it's not, or what you can work on. I feel like in our marriage, I never really um, thought that we would talk so much about it on basically what our life would look like when it comes to even like our health.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. We basically want to use sex as a compliment and not a band-aid. This is really frustrating, and we are, like I said, working out the kinks because we've committed to doing this for a year, this podcast, and this is only the second episode, and it's going to get better. So I'm telling myself.
And there's definitely a lot more that we would like to share with this topic, or even if you guys have any questions or comments, there's, trust me, we're just trying to multitask because obviously we have the baby right here now, so it's kind of hard trying to stay on track with what we actually wanted to fully share. It's hard to stay focused, but we're glad that you're here to experience the rawness of what it takes to do this podcast as a married couple with a 6-month-old.
Stay tuned for next week. We are going to make sure that we have adequate childcare.
Yeah, man, we getting a babysitter.
We can work this out. Yeah, but thank you guys for tuning in with us. If you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us something that you and your partner do to stay bonded, should I say. Nothing freaky.
Stay connected.
Yeah, stay connected. And if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to comment in the notes area or the little comment area and give us 5 stars, even though we're struggling and probably aren't worth 5 stars today. We will be eventually. But yeah, I'm really excited for this journey. So thank you guys for going to bed angry.
Am I just doing with the Pow Pows?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys are going to bed angry.
With the Pow Pows, because that's the name.
And then what are you going to say after that? See you in the next episode? Or
That's it, baby. That's the end.
Okay.
So thank you guys for going to bed angry with the Pow Pows.
Do it again?
Yeah, one more time. So thank you guys for going to bed angry with the Pow Pows. We didn't even say it at the same time. You said it a little faster than me. One more time?
I felt like it was good, but okay.
Okay. So thank you guys for going to bed angry with the Pow Pows. That was good. Good job.
I know we can talk it out. I know